You were just playing in the rice field, and then you suddenly saw, wow, I have a chance to go to Hong Kong. I have to go training. Why? Because I want to grow. When you were young, you just did not go to school to finish SMA, SMP, right?
Yeah.
You had to do something. Growth doesn't just happen. It must happen. It does not just happen that you wake up and you grow, start walking, and see that you want to attain your goal. Growth doesn't just happen. You have to do something about it. When you went to school and you studied SMP, you have to do a lot of assignments, you have to do a lot of examinations, right? You have to do so many things. Why? Because you know growth does not just happen. You have to do something. Now, let's see. Do you have a plan to grow? Did you just grow? No. Did you just have your hair cut? No. Did your hair just grew? No. You have to decide. Oh, many women, you know, if they have a problem, the first thing they do is they change their hairstyle. You know that? So because they want change, they want growth, it just doesn't happen. Now, why is it that growth does not happen? Because there is such a thing as growth gaps. What is a growth gap? This is what prevented you from growing. Number one, the assumption gap. You always think, oh, I will automatically grow even if I don't do anything. Didn't you think like that? Oh, I will pass the exam even if I don't study. You always assume like that. Oh, I will always marry a handsome guy because I'm pretty. Didn't you always assume that? Right? So people that fail to grow because they have the assumption gap. This gap must be filled. Right? I will automatically grow. That is not true, is it? Or people assume that. Number two, the knowledge gap. I don't know how to grow. I remember my father told me, we don't have food today. You go to the fish pond and get some fish. And I told him, I don't know how to do it. And what did he tell me? You can do it. You go down, get the bait, throw it there, and you'll get a fish. How did I grow? First, I said, oh, I don't know how to do it. Many of you think about that, right? Oh, why should I go to Hong Kong? I do not even know how to iron clothes. Right? We people feel that we don't know many things, and that's the reason why we don't grow. We feel we don't know. But when you come there, you feel that it can be done. Right? It can be done. Then next is the timing gap. Oh, you say, oh, it's not the right time for me to grow. No, not yet. Maybe next year. So that's what happens. You don't grow because you don't think it's the time to grow. And these are the problems of people. Even I, that was my problem. Right? Now, didn't you think like this? Have you ever noted that your father, when you are young, he tells you, don't get married. But when you are old, he will tell you, why you not to get married? Right? Isn't it? Why? Because people have a timing gap. It's not the right time. Right? Now maybe a handsome, strong boy comes to your house and he says, I would like to marry your daughter. And then your father, with a timing gap, would say, it's not the right time to grow. So now you teach your father this, and then he will always have the reason not to grow, right? Next is the mistake gap.
Mistake.
I am afraid of making mistakes. So you cannot grow. If you're always thinking, oh, it will be a mistake. Oh no, there might be a mistake. Oh, I might make a mistake. I might not be able to say the right words. Didn't you do that most of the time? Well, weren't you afraid to speak before an audience before? Why? Because you are afraid you will make a mistake. Have you attended a beauty contest of Indonesians and Filipinos? Have you attended that beauty contest? Right? They get dressed in gown and then they parade. Have you attended that? And they call Miss Indonesia. Right? Some people don't want to join the contest. Why? Because, oh, I might make a mistake. Right? I might step down on the platform. Now, these are the things why people don't grow, because they have these gaps in their mind. They assume they cannot do it. They think they don't have the knowledge to do it. They think it is not the right time, and then they are always thinking they will make a mistake. This is the timing gap. This is the assumption gap. This is what prevents us from growing. Because this is what we think. This is always in our mind. And I know, the first time you came to Hong Kong, you were very nervous, right? You don't know how the house looks like. Why is it very small? Why do they cook this way, right? You always have this assumption. But as time went on, you conquered this. And now, very easy, right? When the carpet is dirty, you lift the carpet, you put the dirt under the carpet. Now you're learning many things. When the employer is not in, you do the text, you do the calls. Now, because you already overcame this, you have grown, right? You have grown. You just don't notice it. That's why, as I said, this lesson we already know, but never people reminded us about it, right? Now, these are also gaps, additional gaps. The perfection gap. I have to find the best way before I start. Most people are like that. I don't want to start. I have to know first what is the best way. You see, whenever I talk to people about business, they want to talk about business. But when starting the business already, they are afraid to go. Why? Because they said, oh, business is very risky. But everything is risky in business, right? Everything is risky in life. When you get married, it's a risk. When you get down your building, you might be hit by a tram. That's a risk. But when it comes to business, people don't like. Why? Because they think they do not know the best way to start a business. And then the inspiration gap. They say, I don't feel like growing. Oh, I don't feel like growing. I don't like the community where I live. These are the things that prevent you from growing. Because these are the things that come into your mind. The comparison gap. Oh, I don't want to do it because I am not smart. My sister can do it, is smarter than me. We always compare ourselves with other people that we cannot do things. But in truth, you can do better. As a matter of fact, when you go back again to Indonesia, they look at you differently. Right? Because they know you are educated, you have grown, and you have attained many things in your life. And then, the expectation gap. Why? Because, oh, I thought it was easy. Now it's not easy. When you first enrolled to our S1, you thought you could not do it. You thought you had no time. You thought that it would be easier in another way. So these are the growth gaps that prevent you from growing. And this is what we would like to get rid of. Now the best question is, where do you want to go in life? You always want to be in Hong Kong? Or you would like to go back home, you know, and have a family, 7 children. Wow, 7 children. And then, what's the farthest you can imagine going? Aside from going home and having your family, what else? Anybody? Aside from having a family, what do you like to have? Don't you like to have a business?
Yes.
Don't you like to go out of Indonesia or go to Bali, tour around Indonesia? Oh yeah, so I mean, from other places in Indonesia, like Lake Toba, isn't it? You have all our goals, but as John Maxwell said, our goals are here, but our bad habits are there. Right? We have our goals, our bad habits are there. How we can prevent the bad habits, including these gaps, is what we need to know. That's why we have to do it now. If you want to grow, you go back to Indonesia and get married right away. Do you have a boyfriend?
Already.
Already?
Yes.
And he knows that?
No.
He does not know that he's your boyfriend? Oh, he might break away with you if he does.
Not that bad.
Alright, so we better do it now, right? Face the fear factor. Fear factor is what makes us afraid. We are afraid of failure, isn't it? I don't want to do it because I might fail. You don't want to go home because when he sees you, oh, he might not like you, right? Many people have internet boyfriend, they want to find a husband in the internet, right? And then they are afraid when they see each other at the airport, maybe he doesn't like me, right? And then there is the fear of trading security for the unknown. What does this mean? Sometimes, oh, I just want to stay here in the farm. At least I have food every time. I have fresh air, so I don't want to leave. We are afraid that when we leave this place, it's more risky. We might go to another place. It might not be very good. So we are afraid of that. Fear of being overextended on resources, meaning maybe you may spend too much. When you came to Hong Kong, did you pay for a placement fee? You did not pay because it's salary deduction, right?
Yeah.
But when you came here, you realized that 70% of your salary is taken by your employer. And then you don't have any money, right? So you are fear of overextended. I'm joking with Filipinos. You see Filipinos on the first month of salary, first Sunday, oh, you will find them in Cafe de Coral, Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? On second Sunday,
Chicken
where
Jollibee.
Chicken Jollibee. On second Sunday, where do you find them? Oh, they start cooking their own food in the home because no more money, right? And then they eat outside. On the third Sunday, they will look for friends. Do you have food on Sunday? Can I share? See, because they are afraid that they might overextend their money, so they try to save. I know many of you only leave 100 Hong Kong dollars a month in your pocket. You set them all to your family, right? This is when we are afraid of overextending. We don't want to too much spend, so we are afraid of growing. Fear of what other things. Isn't it that you don't want to grow because you are afraid why people think of you? Oh, maybe I will not get that job because I'm very fat. Isn't it sometimes people feel like that? Oh, I cannot become a stewardess because I'm not very tall. Right? So people think, there are always this particular concern of what other people think. Oh, I cannot get that job because I cannot speak very well. I'm not very good in English. I know only very few English. Like I ran to the door, but the door ran away. So we start to be afraid. We're afraid what other people will think. And then fear of pushing others away. Isn't it that when you feel you would like to do something and then you are afraid you will hurt somebody's feelings?
Yeah, sometimes.
Right? Sometimes, if you go back home and then you marry you go back to Indonesia and then you marry a farmer and then you are an S1, then you got a better job. Isn't it that you are afraid, oh, my husband maybe feel insecure that I earn more money than him? These are the things we are afraid, right? We must afraid. Oh, maybe we are afraid of what people will think. Oh, you go to Hong Kong? Okay, your husband get another woman. We think that when we decide something, we are pushing other people away, right? So this is what we are worried about. People are worried about these things, so they fail to grow. Now let's see. Number 2, the first one is intentional living. That means we must intentionally start to grow. We do it now. We cannot wait. The next is the law of awareness. What is awareness in Indonesia? I read it yesterday, but I forgot. Huh? Sadar. Sadar.
Kesadaran.
Asadar?
That's right.
Kasadar.
Sadar.
Sadar.
Yeah.
The law of awareness. We must be aware. The law says you must know yourself to grow yourself. If you do not know yourself, it's difficult for you to grow. What does that mean? We have to know who are you? Who are we?
You must know.
You grow. For you to grow yourself, you must know your strength. Remember your SWOT analysis in S1, strength, your weakness. You must know your strength. What are your strengths? These are your personal qualifications. Do you look better? Do you feel better? Are you someone who can speak better? Are you someone who has very high intelligence or good marks in your school? These are your strengths. And sometimes because you are beautiful than the others, that is your strength, isn't it? Now, we have to look at your weakness. What is your weakness? I am always afraid.
Yes, that's my problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. We are always afraid, right? That's why we have the fear gap.